Hey there, friends. Thanks for joining me this evening. We've got a great lineup tonight about things in Raleigh. Today, we're going to be talking about the changes in lumber prices. They have finally started to come down, and we're going to talk about whether or not they're going to continue that trend, how the changes in lumber prices are going to affect housing prices in the short and the long term, and how long it will take to see an impact on the current housing market. We're also going to talk about some new developments in the Triangle. I've been talking about East Raleigh for some time now, but there are multiple seriously cool things happening, and the development is continuing to move eastward. This stuff is going to change the trajectory of East Raleigh. Seriously, if you've been wanting to know where to invest in Raleigh, this is it. And if you haven't gotten in yet, well, we're going to talk about that shortly. And we're going to discuss some business development in the Triangle, keeping our finger on the pulse of what types of businesses are moving here and how that shapes the way the economy will grow here in Raleigh. As usual, if you've got any questions, please drop them in the chat box and I'll get to them as we go along. So let's talk about these incredible this development that's happening here in Raleigh. Like I said, development has continually been moving east for some time because this is another inside the Beltline development. It's over near Capitol Boulevard, right off of Atlantic, and it's going to be really cool. Timothy, do you have the screenshot of the map? It's right over here where the red circle is. He's going to pull that up in just a second. Right now, this area feels kind of industrial. But give it some time and it'll be one of the hottest areas in the city. I mean, it's already pretty hot. This is just east of 5 Points and about a mile north of Mordecai. And it's not cheap here. But if you look at this map with the housing price differences right here, you can look over to the right and see that the prices are lower than they are on the left. And that is the area that I'm talking about getting into right now. So if you also look like above this neighborhood and you'll see what looks like a river, it's actually Crabtree Creek. And there's a greenway that runs all along it that you can access from those neighborhoods. Almost every person that calls me about relocating wants to be walkable to the greenway. And this is going to be walkable to this new development that we are just getting ready to talk about. It's called Raleigh Ironworks. And it's going to be a new mixed use innovation space. And it's designed to appeal to the creative community. I'm not sure exactly, there we go. There it is. I'm not sure. YouTube likes to pull up. It's got its own brain. I'm not sure exactly how they're going to be making a creative space, but I guess the types of spaces will be more conducive to creative enterprise. I'm not sure, but we will see. It will ultimately have 500,000 square feet of creative space, 90,000 square feet of retail, and 220 new residential units. They're also repurposing a couple of historic buildings. You can see them in this video. That's the old steel mill, which is kind of cool. That's why they gave it the name Raleigh Ironworks, because it's an old steel mill. And I think this development really has the potential to be something iconic in Raleigh. It's really cool, and it's really going to be amazing. So also the owners of the property right next door are seeking rezoning to be able to build a 20-story mixed use with residential, office, and possibly retail. So I think there's going to be a lot of changes coming to that area really soon. All right, so now let's talk a little bit about the business movement in the Triangle. At the same time that Raleigh is growing denser, RTP-based CISCO is going to be making development of rural North Carolina much more accessible. And I know some people are going to hate this. Can we just leave the North Carolina hills alone? And I totally get that. But this development is going to make it easier for people living in rural areas to work from home. And this is actually not just North Carolina. This is going to be throughout the U.S. They're going to be bringing 5G to all these rural areas throughout North Carolina and the U.S. So they opened the Rural Broadband Innovation Center in RTP last week in order to do that. And one other cool thing for all you creative geeks, Shutterfly has made a significant investment in the Triangle. The CEO of Shutterfly said that Apple's move to the Triangle had an impact on their decision to purchase the Durham-based company Spoonflower. Has anybody else heard of this company, or am I the only one? I think it's a really cool business concept. Excuse me. And I can't believe that I had never heard of it before. So it's no surprise to me that Shutterfly paid $225 million for this company. Timothy, can you pull up that shot that we had of it? So it's really cool. They allow you to like custom design your own housewares. So if you ever had something that you wanted for your home, but you couldn't find it in the store, you can just design your own. You can upload your design for the fabric to their website, and then they can apply it to all of these different things, whether it's, bedding or curtains or anything like that. And then you can order it and they'll print it and ship it to you. So if you can't find what you need, you can just make it. You can make it yourself, and you can also make it to sell your designs to other people, which I think is really kind of the important point. Businesses that make software and things like this to allow individuals to create their own businesses, I really think is like the wave of the 21st century. I think it's going to be really successful. And I think this creative type of company is going to fit really well in the creative vibe of Durham. So I sent my daughter the link so she can design me some curtains, because that's not my style, but it looks really, really cool. All right, so now let's talk about what everybody wants to talk about, lumber prices and their effect on housing. So on February 20th, 2020, lumber futures were trading at $463. They peaked on May 4th, 2021 at $1,481. They'd been climbing ever since the COVID buying boom started, but $1,481 is more than triple, almost quadruple the pre-COVID price. But as of June 22nd, lumber was at $866. That was a few days ago, actually, and I checked it right before we did this, and it had dropped down to like $774 at the close of business on Friday. So now you're talking about it's only about 1.5 times the pre-COVID price as opposed to 4 times. So this is great news because it shows that we're headed in the right direction. Now, because this is a supply chain issue, even as prices drop, it's still going to take some time for all of the builders to catch up. Okay. Builders are out like 9 months waiting on supply. So this is not going to self-correct immediately. Hey there, Hakeem, how you doing? So they do have to fill current orders before the pipeline is full, and then we'll start seeing things normalize in the building industry. And that is going to have an overflow on the existing homes, right? Because one of the things that's making existing home sales so competitive is because the inventory that the builders need to be putting out is not getting put out because of this lumber shortage. So once we start see that correct, then existing homes will start to have less competition as people are able to buy new homes. So I do think there's a little bit more to the story than meets the eye. So I don't think prices are going to continue to drop at this level and immediately go right back to pre-COVID prices. Okay. They've been in a downward progression for about a month, but think about this. There were a few things that caused the lumber price spike in the beginning initially. COVID caused mills to shut down due to illnesses and to social distancing. And then there was a huge increase in demand as people in lockdown took to building things in their yards. And if they didn't have a yard, they were building houses that had a yard. So anytime supply increases, it's usually because demand is increased. But in this case, it was a combination of a disruption to the supply at the same time that there was a surge in demand. So now with COVID vaccines, life all over the place is starting to look a little more normal, except for one little thing that I think could cause this to not, the prices in lumber to not drop as quickly as we would hope. The crazy labor shortage that is plaguing the economy right now. I think this is going to have an impact on how quickly lumber bounces back to normal prices. And I think it's going to drop. I don't think it's going to drop all the way back to pre-COVID prices right away. I don't think the trend of downward price is going to continue without some bumps. And this is why. The Washington Post last week reported that sawmills were in the top 5 industries hurting from labor shortages. If sawmills continue to struggle to find laborers, they're not going to be able to get the product out the door as quickly as it's needed. So I had the feeling, or that this could be something that could cause the lumber prices to like kind of hover where they are, or maybe just not drop all the way back down. We will see. I don't have all the information. There's always, so many different things that play into it. But I don't think that they're going to continue to drop at the same rate that they have been, unless mills are able to meet the need with the current labor pool. And that's not necessarily completely out of the realm of possibility, because another article that was out there this week is that even though the labor force participation is only back to half of pre-pandemic levels, the GDP is nearly back to pre-pandemic levels, even with 7.6 million fewer jobs. So producers are actually doing more with less right now. I don't know if they're using some kind of automation, or just being more efficient, but they're able to get out more than they had been with more employees before. So maybe lumber prices will continue to drop and drop all the way down. Maybe not. I think it's going to still be a little while. Even at that, I think it'll take at least 12 months. So like by next summer, before we're going to start seeing developers start really cranking out some decent inventory. And that's really good news, because there are some big developments planned for next year. Meritage Homes is planning a 500 home subdivision in Garner targeted to entry-level buyers, which is fantastic because there's been a huge need for entry-level housing during all of this stuff. So tell me what you think. Does anybody have questions? Drop them in the chat box and I'll answer. Hakeem says that I should watch his YouTube channel. Drop it in the comments and I'll get to it. Anyway, thank you all for stopping by. If somebody doesn't have more questions, we're going to cut this off right now. But feel free to leave comments and I will answer them after the live. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.